Let's get to our first game tonight. Colorado at St. Louis. 8 o'clock Eastern time, puck drop, 5 o'clock Pacific. And the Avalanche try to finish off the St. Louis Blues after the series was sitting there for the taking the other night, but St. Louis grabbed it in overtime. That series stands at 3-2 in favor of the Avalanche, and we'll see if they can win this on the road. Line on tonight's game, Colorado a big favorite, minus $1.70. We see 6.5 over minus 20 after opening up 6.5 minus $1.15. So the public hasn't moved on the side yet. Matter of fact, between today's game and tomorrow afternoon's game, the public has not moved on either of the sides, but they certainly like the total. The over is definitely the play according to the public. Listed goaltenders, of course, Darcy Kemper against Husso for St. Louis. And much has been made of what Connor McDavid has done for the Edmonton Oilers, and obviously that should be a big deal. But below that, and right below that, not too far, is Nathan MacKinnon and what he's done for the Colorado Avalanche. Another 4-point night in Game 5. He's now third on the Avalanche list of all-time playoff scorers, and that includes when they played back in Quebec as well. So Nathan MacKinnon quietly, I mean, we know he's one of the best players in the NHL, but quietly he's really sneaking up on some all-time greats, certainly in the Colorado organization. I was asked yesterday who I thought had a psychological advantage, and one of the reasons why I get asked that a lot is because when I start the handicapping process, I really like to see or make a I like to see who I think has kind of a psychological advantage, because we have all sorts of numbers. We have, analytics or the traditional numbers that we look at, but one thing we never look at is what's the number between the ears, and they have not been able to actually come up with that sort of a number yet. So I do like to look at that, because I think teams, if you're confident, which falls into the category of the psychology of sports, if you're confident going into a game, I think that really gives you an advantage. And of course, the other team has to seize that confidence. But right now, I still think the Colorado Avalanche have all the confidence in the world, despite the Game 5 loss. They're still, you still have to look at that and say, hey, look, they own this series. They had a 3-0 lead in Game 5 before they took the foot off the pedal. And from Colorado's standpoint, they're still the better of the two teams. So I think the confidence edge still lies with the Avalanche. There's a speed advantage for Colorado, and you know this because when you're watching St. Louis defensemen, they do not get up into play very much. They don't pinch up in the offensive zone very much, or even in the neutral zone, because they're so worried about that speed coming back. And that's very noticeable throughout this series, which is another reason why Colorado has an edge. You have the speed edge. You have a tremendous psychological advantage. So we're going to see what we'll get tonight. Avalanche this is what I expect. The Avalanche are going to suffocate. They're going to suffocate the Blues for 60 minutes. They got an unexpected taste of what St. Louis can do. If they don't do that in Game 5, I think they learned that lesson and will apply that lesson tonight to Game 6. I think you're going to see a heavy Avalanche forecheck against the Blues, especially in their offensive zone. And why that's important, if you feel confident enough, and again, you have a speed advantage. It's not just a speed advantage in transition. It's a speed advantage of what you can do defensively to create transition or to create turnovers in the offensive zone. That's what I think Colorado's going to do tonight. And from a Blues perspective, I think they have to be way more physical, especially with MacKinnon. I think you'll see that early. And if you do that, you limit his space, you limit his creativity, and perhaps stay in this game at the end. But for me, it's still Colorado with the definitive edge. We're not going to go with a side here because I'm not laying $1.70 in the game. But as far as the total is concerned, we're going to go under that 6.5 and our official selection, under 6.5, even money. I think that's a great price for two teams that know that they have to play better defensively in order to either even this series up or win this series. And I think you're going to see that tonight. I think it's going to be a very low-scoring game, maybe an empty netter at the end because one of these teams might be in desperation, but that's what you're going to see tonight.